It's just cool, I think. And then there, conversations. There's, different etiquette, and I'm sure maybe we'll have another session on that. Somebody else will be talking about the very specifics of it. But another example of that I found really useful is, say I'm going to a national conference. You're going to one of your industry conferences, and there's a hashtag that was created for that event. Like I said that I was creating a hashtag for this event today. I called it, and the hashtag is just the number symbol, like the pound symbol. And do you guys know what hashtag is? Yeah. And so I called it WLU social media. So anytime you're sitting here, you could be tweeting what I'm saying. Often I'll go to an event and I'll either create a hashtag or do a search to see if I could find a hashtag associated with the event. And then I'll tweet what the speaker was saying verbatim. I'll put quotes around it. I'll see other people's responses to what it's saying. It's an amazing tool to use that's behind the scenes. I mean, we're all looking on I went to the West Virginia Business Summit. This is actually how I ended up here. I met Jeff Kinnear there. His booth for West Liberty was right next to Burns White's. And I'm here. I'm thankful to be here because Jeff then introduced me to Carrie. And then Carrie asked me to be on the board for the Entrepreneur Center. So it's cool. But I was tweeting that whole time. And I was meeting people also at that summit. It was the West Virginia Business Summit, West Virginia Chamber of Commerce. All these people that were saying different things. It was really interesting. I just searched for the hashtag. So I also did that for one of these trade shows for my client because I would go to this in New York City. It was this trade show for children's wear, international children's wear brands, and there were like 24 participants. And one of my clients was one of them. So the other 23 could possibly be my clients. They're all children's wear fashion companies. There were also PR firms that were also going to the event because they are targeting those people as their clients. And they were all, so there was a Twitter hashtag for the event. There was a Twitter account for the organizers of the event. And I was searching to see who was going to be there. To make it worth my while, I set up coffees with people I'd never met before. I just met them through Twitter. And I made, more contacts in the industry, people that, I'm a fashion designer. It was a really neat use of Twitter. Facebook, that's the Salene Kraemer Facebook page. And then Flickr. These are all the events that I attended in like the last 7 months. And that trade show I was talking about is right here at Playtime New York. So anyway, does anybody have a Flickr account? Yeah, Flickr, and I'm going to talk about the legal issues with all of this. Obviously with photographs, you're photographing someone, you should probably get their permission to utilize it. Let them know, hey, this is probably going on Facebook. You want to be very careful about that. All right, moving along. So any other questions or about my use of social media?
During the day, do you find yourself spending more time on email or Twitter?
Well, I would say email. I really try to not, I don't search through Twitter or anything.
So clients are communicating with you through email, not Twitter?
Right now, but I think it's going to change. I've had like a handful of people, they'll send me a tweet. They'll direct message me through Twitter instead of email.
You can see it going hugely in that direction because it's so much faster, so much more concise.
Right. And with our smartphones. That's why, and I have a statistic here about the percentage of people that have smartphones. I think it's 23% of all the cell phone users, which I think is pretty high because they're so expensive. But as our technology advances, you get the tweet notification right on your phone, as opposed to an email that could sit in your inbox.
I'm downloading the app now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I have a couple. Since we're talking about it, let me just talk about a couple of other amazing apps. One of them is Flipboard, Flipboard, and it's a way that you can review your Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and news outlets, like 8 other different, whatever you subscribe to that you have an interest in. And it's all on one app, and it's set up in a really cool way that you can look at everyone's update all on one app. And then you can also share that content. So say, for example, some of the business owners, what is your business, Miss? What is your business?
It actually has to do with social.
Oh, with social media? Okay. So, there's different topic areas, like home health, so the financial services industry, whatever. I do photography, I do social media, I do fashion, I do retail, any of my industry niches. And on Flipboard, you can subscribe to these topics and read the current news and the most popular. So it's a way for you to generate, as you're reading the article about that, whether it's printing or whatever it is, then you share it through Twitter. You can email it to one of your clients. It's a way for you to generate content that you haven't written, but you can push it out to show that you're reading in this specific niche and what your area of expertise is.
Yeah, you were mentioning you were at a presentation or whatever, and wouldn't that be awfully disconcerting to look out there and see all these people?
It is, I think. I mean, let's talk about that. So it's like my teenage niece. It's like, can you like talk to me instead of sitting and like with the thumbs, going. I don't know. I think people are just gonna have to get used to it. It's like when you're sitting on, like in the airport, everyone's just sitting around talking on their phones, or it's crazy.
When you're actually at a
Yeah.
at a presentation.
Yeah, me as the person or somebody giving the
Well, either
presentation.
way, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah, I don't know. I think people are just going to have to. It's kind of sad in a way because people aren't talking as much, face to face. And this is a great. So this is a great video too that I wanted you to listen to.
Hi, I'm Michael Silverman from Duo Consulting in Chicago. My question is on social networking for business. Is it valuable for business, yes or no? And if yes, for what types of businesses?
Well, if you've got Facebook, you're probably my friend, because God knows I have enough of them, and it's worthless to you. It's worthless to have lots and lots of friends on Facebook, because they're not really your friends. They're just people who didn't want to offend you by pressing the ignore button. And if you've got 5,000 people following you on Twitter because you tell a dirty joke every couple hours, that's not particularly useful for your business either. That the internet is this giant cocktail party with all these people swarming around, connecting as much as they can because they're keeping score. Who likes me today? Who's talking about me today? But one day when you need to ask them to authorize a $100,000 contract, it doesn't matter. What matters is where are the real relationships. Now I have real relationships with thousands of people around the world. There are people I've never met who I could email in New Zealand who would let me sleep in their living room for 3 days if I was in town. Because we've done stuff for each other, because we've exchanged worthwhile ideas, because people have been connected by real things, not just a couple bits lining up. So my answer is networking is always important when it's real, and it's always a useless distraction when it's fake. What the internet has allowed is an enormous amount of fake networking to take place. And it's so easy to be seduced by it because there's a dashboard and a scoreboard. And look how popular I am. And it's nonsense. That if you're measuring that, it's like measuring hits to your website. It doesn't translate. What translates is, are there people out there who I would go out of my way for, and who would go out of their way for me? That's what you need to keep track of. And the way you get there is by going out of your way for them, and by earning the privilege of one day having that connection be worthwhile.
Yeah, that guy's name is Seth Godin. Is it okay if I say it? Okay. His name is Seth Godin, Godin, and he has a blog that I do subscribe to, and it's I love his blogs. The blogs, each blog post is supposed to be really short. It's supposed to be like 200 to 500 in words in length, and so with the blog, the other apps I wanted to show you. So, does anyone subscribe to any blogs? No. Okay. A couple of you. Okay. So what I would do, whatever your art is, your area of expertise, for example, for me, I subscribe to people. There's always, a lot of blogs out there, they're very narrow. There's one topic that they're writing on. For me, social media law, there's like one lawyer, that's all they write about. They send out cases constantly about the new Facebook case. There was a case recently where somebody on Facebook called their boss a scumbag, and that employee got fired. And the National Labor Relations Board said, you can't fire this employee because it's a forum for them to discuss their working conditions. And you'll hear that a lot about the National Labor Relations Board. So somebody had mentioned here about the ability of the employees to say something negative on Facebook. And that is governed by your social media policy. and your recourse and the remedial action for something that they would say that's negative and tarnishing the brand. If you're a company that falls under the National Labor Relations Board, then there's extra scrutiny, and there's a lot more freedom for employees to talk about things that they don't like in their workplace. So if you go on and just think about people that are staying atop of your industry, and I would subscribe to your blogs. I would download it. It's an application. It's called Feedler Pro, FEEDDLERPRO, and it's basically you can look at all of the RSS feeds for the blogs that you subscribe to. And you can read them every day. You can create folders of, this one relates to law, this one relates to business, this relates to whatever, West Virginia. And it's a great way to just read them on your iPhone. I mean, people that, like Seth Godin or me, you can subscribe to my blog or whatever. And I'm sure the Entrepreneur Center will start doing these types of things. Subscribe to that one. And when you're waiting in line, I mean, half the time I'm sitting in my kids' nursery because they're not going to bed. And it takes me hours to put them to bed. And I'm reading. I also, Google Alert is something that I had never thought of doing before. If you don't get anything else out of this presentation, the one thing I would do, if I'm a business owner, is have a Google Alert for your business, the name of your business, so that anytime anybody is saying anything about your business, you're aware of it and you get an alert. I would do your like the industry as a whole. I do a lot for women who own businesses. I do Pittsburgh women-owned business, so I can see the news articles. I do them for my competitors. If I were a business, I don't specifically do that, but for my clients, their names of their businesses, the owner's name, and often it's so amazing because if I'll read something about them before they do, and I send them an email of the link, and they're like, "Man, what are you doing? Like, how did you find this out?" So I think if you're a business, you have to monitor what's being said out there about your brand, and so with Google Alerts through Feedler Pro, you can also read that as well. So it's really cool. Like people from high school, if you want to know what they're doing, like I have Cart Goodwin, who was the senator here in West Virginia. He's one of my good friends from high school. So I have a Google alert on him because I want to know what he's doing and where he's going, and so those are cool tools. So perks for the professional. You hear a lot in these social media presentations about creating a personal brand, and someone had told me that 10 years ago that as a lawyer in a big firm that I needed to have my own business plan and my own brand. And it just didn't, I was like, what? I'm like, what billable hour? It just didn't translate to me. And now because we are all given these megaphones with our voice through these social media tools, you really are creating a personal brand. Say you're in a job that you don't like that much and you really want to lateral into something else. And so whatever you're saying on Twitter and your blog or whatever, it's speaking about your brand, who you are as a person, who you are as a professional. And that will stay with you, because as another slide I have is everything you have out there is pretty permanent. I mean, even if you try to take it down, there's a thing called Time Machine or Wayback Machine. There's like 10 different devices where these paralegals at a law firm, if they sue you, they can go and get all those websites, no matter how far, even though you've deleted it, they can go way back and retrieve all that information. So, and we'll talk about that in litigation, in custody, divorce. Say you have a commercial dispute with someone else, they can go back and see what you wrote, and you have to be very careful. So build credibility, humanize yourself, I talked about that. Gain a competitive edge in the bid process. We were pitching a big middle market company to be hired as their lawyers, and before we did that, we did like a scope of, like this big sweep of what the company was doing in the news, their website. I mean, the website. I pulled up the LinkedIn profiles of all the management committee to see who they are, what they've been posting, what their groups are. I mean, there's so much information out there. So I do that for people, clients that I'm trying to get, and then competitors. I mean, if you don't know what to do with social media and you're a business, just find somebody who's, your competitor. Maybe not in this market, but in another market across the country. I always tell my clients to do that, to just figure out what they're doing, what they're saying, and learn from it.